Today, we're digging into one of the most powerful dialogues in all of Western philosophy. But you know what? It doesn't start in some quiet study or lecture hall. It starts on the steps of a courthouse, with a conversation that kicks off with a simple question and, well, a truly jaw-dropping answer. That's the answer. That's what a man named Euthyphro says when Socrates runs into him and asks what kind of legal charge he's bringing. Just 2 words, but those 2 words immediately tell you this is going to be intense. Socrates is, of course, stunned and asks who the victim is, but he is definitely not ready for what's coming next. And there it is, the hook. A man is prosecuting his own father for murder. You can just feel Socrates' shock in that reply. It's this absolutely bizarre, high-stakes family drama that launches one of the most important questions we've ever asked. What exactly is goodness? Okay, so let's really set the scene here. We've got these 2 guys, Socrates and Euthyphro, and they just happen to bump into each other outside the main courthouse in Athens. And as it turns out, they're both in some pretty serious trouble. And wow, are these 2 guys different? On one side, you have Socrates. He's the one on trial. The charge? Impiety. They say he's corrupting the youth and making up new gods. And famously, Socrates claims he knows absolutely nothing. Then you've got Euthyphro. He's not the one being accused. He's the prosecutor. And he's prosecuting his own father for murder because, get this, he claims to have perfect, expert knowledge of holiness and what the gods demand. So you have the ultimate seeker of wisdom meeting a guy who thinks he already has it all figured out. So, what's the backstory here? Well, it's pretty grim. One of Euthyphro's workers got drunk and killed another servant. In response, Euthyphro's father had the man tied up and tossed in a ditch while he sent someone to ask a religious authority what to do next. The problem is, he basically forgot about the guy in the ditch who ended up dying from hunger and the cold before the messenger even got back. Now, as you can imagine, Euthyphro's entire family is furious with him. They think it's outrageous that he'd take his own father to court over the death of a murderer. But Euthyphro, he is completely unfazed. He is so supremely confident in his understanding of religious law that in his mind, prosecuting his father isn't just an option, it is the only holy and pious thing he could possibly do. So Socrates hears all this, and his ears perk up. I mean, think about it. He's literally on his way to his own trial for impiety, and he just happens to run into a guy who claims to be the world's foremost expert on piety. What a coincidence. Socrates sees a golden opportunity and says, "Fantastic, you have to teach me what you know." But Socrates isn't just looking for a few examples. He wants to go much, much deeper. He asks Euthyphro for the form of piety itself, the essential characteristic, the universal blueprint that makes pious things pious. He doesn't want a list. He wants the very essence of the thing. And here we go. This is where the classic Socratic method just kicks into high gear. Euthyphro, bursting with confidence, starts throwing out definitions. And Socrates, like a philosophical surgeon, calmly takes each one, puts it on the table, and shows why it just doesn't work. Euthyphro's first attempt is basically, well, piety is what I'm doing right now, prosecuting my dad. But Socrates shuts that down immediately. That's just an example of piety, not a definition. It doesn't tell you what makes it and all other pious acts pious. It's kind of like if I asked you, what is a vehicle, and you just said a Ford F-150. Okay, but that doesn't define what a vehicle is. All right, take 2. Euthyphro tries a more philosophical approach. Piety is what is beloved by the gods. Now this sounds a lot better, right? It's a general rule, it connects holiness to what the gods approve of. Seems pretty solid. But Socrates, he immediately spots a huge hole in this. I mean, think about the Greek myths. The gods were a mess, right? They were always fighting, arguing, and disagreeing about what was right and wrong. So if piety is just what the gods love, in action, like, say, prosecuting your own father, might be loved by one god but absolutely hated by another. This would make the exact same action both pious and impious at the same time, which is a complete contradiction. Euthyphro sees the traps, so he adjusts on the fly. Okay, you got me, he says. Piety isn't what just some gods love, it's what all of the gods love, the things they all agree on. It's a smart fix, right? But this refinement walks him right into the most famous philosophical trap in history. And this, right here, brings us to the absolute core of the dialogue. It's a question so brilliant and so devastating that philosophers and theologians have been wrestling with it for more than 2,000 years. It is called the Euthyphro dilemma. This is it. This is the big one. Socrates lays down the ultimate question. Let it sink in for a second. Is something good because God says it's good? Or does God say it's good because it is, in and of itself, good? It sounds like a simple word game, but this one question basically splits the entire foundation of religious morality right down the middle. You see what Socrates has done? He's backed Euthyphro into a corner with two doors, two horns of a dilemma. And what we're about to see is that no matter which door you choose, you end up in a place that's really, really problematic for the whole idea that morality comes from a divine being. Okay, let's go down path A first. Let's say something is good because the gods command it. If that's true, then morality is completely arbitrary. There's no real reason for it. It's just based on a command. The gods could have commanded that murder is good and helping people is evil, and that would be the moral truth. Goodness becomes nothing more than a powerful opinion. So what about path B? Let's say the gods love piety because it is already good. Well, that solves the first problem. Morality isn't arbitrary anymore, but it creates a brand new, massive problem. It means there is a standard of good that exists independently from the gods, maybe even above them. In this view, the gods aren't the authors of morality, they're just really good at recognizing it. And that really challenges the whole concept of an all-powerful God. So you see what Socrates did there? By forcing this choice, he shows Euthyphro that he hasn't actually defined piety at all. All he's done is describe a quality of piety, that the gods love it. He's described a side effect of piety, not its core essence. They are right back at square one. So, how does it all end? Does Euthyphro, our self-proclaimed expert, finally come up with the answer? Does he solve the dilemma? Well, not quite. The way the dialogue ends is maybe just as revealing as the argument itself. After being led in circles, his certainty completely shattered, Euthyphro just gives up. He gets frustrated, makes an excuse that he's suddenly in a hurry, and just walks away, leaving Socrates and the entire question hanging in the air. He showed up claiming to have all the answers and leaves with nothing. This state of being completely stuck, of realizing you don't know what you were so sure you knew, it actually has a name in philosophy. It's called aporia. And for Socrates, reaching aporia isn't a failure, it's the goal. It's that moment of genuine confusion that marks the true beginning of wisdom. So Socrates is left standing there, no closer to getting a neat definition that he can use in his trial. And yet, that's the whole point. The dialogue isn't really about finding the answer. It's about showing us that the process of questioning, of challenging our own beliefs, is so much more valuable than just clinging to an easy answer that falls apart the second you look at it too closely. And so we are left with that very same powerful question that Euthyphro just couldn't handle. It's a question that echoes down to us today. Does morality need a divine author to be real, or is goodness something that stands on its own, a fundamental part of the universe that even a god would have to respect? The dialogue doesn't tell us what to think, but it gives us one of the greatest questions ever asked.